So in this video, I want to talk about whether you should sell your Pokemon investments when they get expensive or not. I want to talk about the pros and cons to expensive sealed product in terms of investing and selling. This is definitely a an opinion thing on should you sell them when they get expensive or not. There's arguments on both sides. But I just want to list the pros and cons I see with expensive sealed product in this video. Now, I've told you guys that at certain price points I would like to sell my product. One reason being one of the cons, as you can see here. But other than that, it just gets to a point where you have so much expensive sealed product, and I've told you guys that the position I'm in, once they get pretty expensive, I'd have a lot more invested in Pokemon than I probably would have liked. So that is my reasoning for wanting to sell when things get kind of expensive. But other than that, there are a lot of pros, as you can see here. It seems like the pros really outweigh the cons, but the con could be a pretty big thing depending on your situation. So let's just first talk about the pros here. So the first pro to an expensive sealed product is it's value dense, meaning that there's a lot of value in in something that's relatively small. A booster box, for example, a team up booster box is about $9,000. So obviously, if you have a booster box that's $9,000, I mean, a booster box, what is that? I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's relatively small. I think you guys know how big a booster box is. It's not that big. So if you have a booster box that's $9,000, well, that's a lot of value in a small little thing. You could have a booster box that's maybe brand new, that's maybe, I don't know, $250. And let me do the math on that using a calculator. How many booster boxes would you need to have? Okay, so you need to have 36 booster boxes that of a booster box that's worth $250, for example, like Mega Evolution, to equate to one Team Up booster box, which is about 6 booster box cases. So you can see, value density there. Team Up booster box being just one booster box having a value of $9,000. You don't have to have that much space. So definitely that is a big pro to having expensive sealed product. Another pro to having expensive sealed product is that you get a large gain when you sell it. Obviously, I mean, it's value dense, so when you sell it, it's worth a lot of money. You don't necessarily need to have a large amount of quantities sold to have a large amount of profits. Obviously, if you bought the booster box at $9,000 and you sell it when it's $9,000, okay, you didn't profit. But let's say, for example, you bought a booster box like Team Up when it was $100 and you sell it when it's $9,000. Well, your profit, obviously, besides fees and all that stuff, is $8,900, and you only had to sell one booster box rather than, for example, let's just use Mega Evolution like I did for the comparison of how many booster boxes equate to $9,000 as a Team Up booster box. You would need to sell, for example, 36 booster boxes to get, I guess, the same amount of revenue as just selling one Team Up booster box. So definitely that is a big pro to selling expensive sealed product, is that you don't have to sell like thousands of booster boxes, for example, to maybe make the same amount of money you could just selling one booster box. So that is a big thing with expensive stuff, as you can see here. It's just value dense, and there's another thing to be said about a pro to expensive sealed product. It's possibly a Veblen good. If just taking a definition from Google AI, you can see here a Veblen good is a luxury item that defies the law of supply and demand. The demand increases as the price increases because the high price signals status, exclusivity, and quality. So if you guys know, the basic law of supply and demand is as prices go up, there's more supply because you can kind of see, I guess, somewhat of that with Pokemon when boxes get more expensive. There's definitely not as many sales as like a booster box that's like, let's say, a couple $100. But relative to an expensive item in the Pokemon space, it is sometimes a thing where the most expensive stuff gets the most attention. I mean, you kind of see that being a thing. Remember back then in like 2021, during that boom when it was more vintage that got popular and stuff. Obviously, a lot more people resonated with the vintage stuff. But besides that, a big thing people talk about in this Pokemon space is value. right? And a lot of people would have in their YouTube titles or whatever stream titles when they're opening something like $150,000 booster box, $50,000 booster box opening. In the collectible space, definitely, I think there is that level of of beveling good, depending obviously on what the product is, because there are some products that are expensive that are not in high demand. For example, like maybe what's a good example here? Maybe Emerging Powers booster box. Emerging Powers not a great set. It's pretty expensive. There's probably some other examples I can give out there that are they're expensive products, but nobody really cares for them. But there's some products that maybe see more demand. Like I said, like vintage stuff, possibly. Maybe Team Up, right? Team Up has been talked about a lot because of how expensive it is. Evolving Skies is another one. So it's could be considered beveling goods. So therefore, as prices go up, it's maybe seen to be more exclusive, more high end, and like a cooler thing because it has more value. So that can add to there being a pro to having expensive sealed product. Now, the only con I can really think of for expensive sealed product is liquidity. It kind of, I guess, goes against the whole Veblen good argument. But how many people, this is just an example, can buy a $10,000 booster box? It seems like some people even, find it difficult to buy, an elite trainer box, a booster box that's a few $100s. So think about your market of people that can buy a booster box that expensive. It's definitely not as big of a thing because how many people want to spend $10,000 on a box of Pokemon cards, right? It'd have to obviously be somebody who really likes Pokemon, that maybe sees value in it, but they have to have the money. That's the biggest thing. And I don't know how many people want to spend $10,000 on a booster box. It'd have to be some pretty hardcore fans or somebody that has obviously also with the money. So liquidity is a big thing for high cost items, because if there is a time where maybe the economy isn't doing good, or maybe Pokemon isn't that popular at the current time, your booster box that maybe was once worth $10,000, to try to sell it at maybe that market price, that could also be a problem, right? I mean, Pokemon definitely right now, the liquidity is pretty high relatively, relative to, I guess, previous times, because you can sell, thousands of dollars of worth of, booster boxes, like, for example, like Evolving Skies, or Team Up, or any of those, like kind of relatively easily, but if the Pokemon market was maybe like how it was before in Scarlet and Violet, when booster boxes were $100, I mean, imagine trying to sell a $10,000 booster box during that time of demand. It's gonna definitely be different. So that's really the only con I can see with expensive sealed product is the liquidity. But there are a lot of pros to having expensive sealed product, and the biggest thing obviously is the value density. It's so much value in one product. You only got to sell one of them. For example, like a booster box that's thousands of dollars, and your profits will be pretty high comparatively to having a booster box that's maybe only a few $100s, but you're gonna have to sell maybe 5 to 10 times more just to get the same amount of profit. But what do you guys think about this? Would you sell a booster box or any sealed product when they get expensive or not? Personally, me, I would definitely like to, condense what I have, at a certain point when if I have some product, a large amount that's expensive, I would start to like to condense it and sell some of them off. If you have maybe hundreds of booster boxes that are worth thousands of dollars, you will have to obviously string out how you sell them. You don't want to flood the market, because that's going to definitely bring prices down. But I've made a video talking about sort of my investment strategy, but it wasn't really for just the reason of liquidity. Also, a reason would just be because whenever my sealed product does get relatively expensive, I would be at a point where I would just want to liquidate some of that. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. I thought it was interesting to talk about this because I know it's a thing people ask. So these are just the pros and cons I see with expensive sealed product. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.